Well, the race to be the next Republican presidential candidate has shaken up. This after Rick Santorum swept all three states in last night's primaries. Now Mitt Romney's cozy spot as frontrunner isn't so certain anymore. Throughout the race, various candidates enjoyed their time in the limelight, only to be taken over by a new GOP flavor of the week. But one candidate's popularity has remained consistent: Ron Paul. And there are signs now that he is gaining momentum, especially after coming in second in Minnesota, where he beat Romney and Gingrich. And take a look at this poll. According to the latest telephone polls coming out, frontrunner Mitt Romney lost some ground in recent days, dropping from 30 to 29%. Ron Paul is now in second place nationally. His support grew 5%, putting him at 21%. Rounding out the bunch, Newt Gingrich's support fell by 1 to 19%, and Rick Santorum's support rose by 5 to 18%. So, with support for other candidates slipping, is it Ron Paul's time to shine? Well, a recent event shows just how passionate Paul's supporters are. In Nevada, there was a special evening caucus to accommodate certain religious voters, and it was ran by a prominent casino owner in the state. His name is Sheldon Adelson. Here he is. He also pumped a lot of money into a super PAC to support Gingrich, but that didn't stop swarms of Ron Paul supporters from showing up and causing quite a commotion. Well, our next guest was there to tell us how it all went down. Blogger and activist Justin Tribble joined me just moments ago. Take a listen.
Well, when I arrived, there was a huge line outside, and you know, my feeling was these were just regular people showing up, because this caucus was held at 9 in the morning on Saturday, and a lot of people missed it. They couldn't make it. So once they found out this was being held at 7 o'clock, a lot of people showed up and wanted to participate. And I felt like it was just regular people showing up. So they've made it like all these Ron Paul supporters swarmed and crashed it. I didn't feel that way, especially since quite a few rabbis and Jewish people spoke for Ron Paul and were supporting him.
So what do you think it says about, the fact that it was Mitt Romney who this guy poured all that money into, yet you have all these loud, very passionate, vocal Ron Paul supporters really showing up to support him? What does it say about kind of Ron Paul's supporters and his base?
Well, it was interesting because this guy who owns the Venetian, Sheldon Adelson, he actually supporting Gingrich. And he was sitting right there in front of me. He was about, 20 feet from me. And you could tell he was a little irritated because so many people were clapping and applauding for the Ron Paul people who were talking. And there were quite a few Jewish people and rabbis who stood up and spoke for Ron Paul. So he was sitting there having to take it because he was supporting Gingrich through all of this.
Very interesting. Yeah, Ron Paul certainly has a very passionate following. Want to talk about some of the more recent developments as far as the election last night. The results really shook things up for the Republican race. Mitt Romney's frontrunner status isn't so certain anymore, is it?
Not at all. You know, I just think people don't really trust him or like him. It's just the media has been telling everybody, well, he's the front runner. He's the guy. You got to vote for him. We have to beat Obama, so this is the guy. But that's not really a reason why you should support somebody. I mean, what if he was the Antichrist? Should we vote for him if he could beat Obama? No.
Right.
So people are trying out each candidate. I just wish they would try out Ron Paul at this point. They tried out Newt Gingrich. He sucks. Now they're trying out Rick Santorum. He's awful if you know anything about him. Hopefully Ron Paul will be the next guy that they give a look at.
And so with Rick Santorum sweeping all three caucuses last night, it kind of shows that he is the alternative to Mitt Romney. It's some Republicans, conservatives refer to him as the Massachusetts moderate. So we are seeing this divide within the Republican Party. But Ron Paul's followers are, they're always there. They always stick around no matter what. What does this divide within the party mean for Paul's campaign?
Well, I just don't think that anybody who calls themselves a Republican could say that they're against the Constitution, or that they're against limited government, or that they're against defending the homeland or defending our borders. And since Ron Paul supports all those things, it just baffles me that he doesn't receive more support. But I think it's because people just aren't informed. They just don't know. They haven't really looked at him. They haven't studied him. They have no idea. So if he got more coverage, more people really sat and thought about it, I think his support will continue to grow.
And what is it about Ron Paul that riles his supporters up so much?
Because once you start listening to him, it's not so much just him, it's just the overall message he's trying to get across, you just kind of wake up and you realize, wow, our country is being run by the Federal Reserve, which is a private organization, run by private people, and it's not a federal institution. You realize that, you realize the wars are a lie, you realize the war on terror is fake, the war on drugs is a complete joke. Once you start to wake up to all this, you get angry, you get passionate, and you stay a Ron Paul supporter. You don't change.
And, you know, the fact that he is gaining momentum and that he has made it this far is a huge improvement from the last time he was running in the election. So, would you say that Ron Paul's image as a fringe candidate has changed?
It's absolutely changed. His support continues to grow. He came in second, a strong second in New Hampshire. He came in second in Minnesota. So people are going to start to realize, okay, Gingrich has finished fourth in a whole bunch of these contests. So why can't we look at Ron Paul as being just as viable as Newt Gingrich or anybody else?
That was blogger and activist Justin Tribble.